skeletal system. The skeletal system forms the basic framework of the human body and is made up of bones. This framework is called the skeleton and comprises the skull, the backbone, that is spine, the rib cage, the girdles, and the limbs. The skeleton is the framework which gives shape and support to our body. It helps us to move, gives muscles a place to attach themselves, and protects the soft organs inside our body from injury.
Our body would not have a structure or form without the skeleton or the body's internal framework. The human body has more than 270 bones at birth. As one grows up, many of these bones fuse together and thus reduce to 206 bones in an adult human. Bones are made up of living cells containing minerals like calcium and phosphorus, which strengthen them and also harden the skeletal framework.
Functions of the skeletal system. The skeleton gives shape and form to our body. It protects the delicate internal organs like brain, heart, kidneys, liver, and lungs. Bone marrow. Long bones have soft spongy tissue lying within their hollow interior called bone marrow. Numerous blood cells are produced in the bone marrow every day. Tendons. Muscles are joined to bones by means of tough band of fibrous connective tissue called tendons. They make movements of the body possible and smooth. Provides support to the body. It is a storehouse of minerals like calcium and phosphorus, which are very important for good health.
Parts of the skeletal system. The parts of the skeleton include the skull, spine or backbone, rib cage, limbs and girdles. Skull. It houses and protects the brain and is made up of 22 bones. Of these, 8 bones join together to form the cranium and are called cranial bones. The other 14 bones give you your facial features and protect the sense organs like eyes, nose, tongue, and are called facial bones. The upper and lower jawbone holds the teeth and helps you bite and crush food. The lower jaw is the only movable bone of the skull. Backbone. Touch your back and feel the hard part running from your neck down to your back. The backbone or spine is made up of 33 bones called the vertebrae and is joined to the skull. The 33 ring-shaped vertebrae are placed one over the other, forming a vertebral column through which the spinal cord passes. The spine is a flexible part of the body that facilitates twisting and bending of our back in different directions. The vertebral column offers protection to the delicate spinal cord. Rib cage. It is a cage-like bony structure that protects our heart and the lungs. The rib cage has 12 pairs of ribs attached to the vertebrae. The top 7 pairs of ribs are attached to the breastbone or sternum. The 3 pairs of ribs below them are attached together and then join the sternum. The last 2 ribs are called floating ribs as they are not joined to the sternum. Limbs. Our bodies have 2 limbs, upper limb and lower limb. Upper limb has 2 parts, arm and hand. Arm. The arm is made up of long bones. The humerus is in the upper arm. Radius and ulna are 2 bones in the lower or forearm. Hand. The hand has 27 bones in all. While the wrist has 8 bones, the palm has 5 and the fingers have 14 bones. We have 27 bones in each hand that help us to write, draw, and carry out other activities. Lower limb has 2 parts, leg and foot. Leg. The leg is made up of long bones. The upper leg or thigh bone is called femur. Tibia and fibula form the lower leg part. Foot. The foot has 26 bones in all. The ankle has 7, the base of the foot has 5, and there are 14 bones in the toes. Girdles. The arms and the legs are supported by a set of bones called girdles. The arms are supported by the shoulder or pectoral girdle, and the legs are supported by hip or pelvic girdle, by a ball and a socket joint. Both the girdles allow movement of the arm and legs in all directions.
Joints. A joint is the meeting point of 2 or more bones. These are held together by strong elastic tissues called ligaments. There are several joints in the human body. There are 2 types of joints: immovable joints, movable joints. Immovable joints. The bones that form an immovable joint are fused in such a way that they cannot move. The bones of the skull and the face fall in this category. Movable joints. There are 4 types of movable joints. The pivot joint, the ball and socket joint, the hinge joint, the gliding joint. The pivot joint. This type of joint is located between the skull and the first 2 vertebrae of the spine. This joint enables us to move our head upward or downward or sideways. The ball and socket joint. This type of joint allows movement in all directions. In this, a ball-like end of one bone fits in a corresponding spherical cavity of another bone. Our hip joints and shoulder joints are of the ball and socket kind. It is this type of joint of the shoulders that allows us to swing our arm in a round and round action, just as we do an overarm bowling action in cricket. The hinge joint. This joint works much like a hinge of a door or a window. The bones at this joint can move only in one direction. The joints of the elbows, knees, and in the fingers and toes are the examples of hinge joint. The gliding joint. The gliding joint allows a set of complex movements. The joints in the ankles, wrists, and the joints between most of the vertebrae are gliding joints. Cartilage. It covers the ends of the bones and provides a protective layer so the bones don't rub against each other. Synovial fluid. It fills the space inside the joint. Brain. It is the body's most important organ and control center and is also a major part of the nervous system. It is located in the head and is well protected by the bony skull. The brain has 3 parts: the cerebrum, the cerebellum, and the medulla. Each part has its own specific functions. Cerebrum. The cerebrum is the topmost and the largest part of the brain. It consists of 2 parts and has a dome-shaped surface. It controls our sense organs and is also responsible for our thinking and reasoning abilities. The cerebrum receives messages from the sense organs and sends back messages about what has to be done. Our thoughts, memories, intelligence, learning are also controlled by the cerebrum. For this reason, it is sometimes also called the thinking part of our brain. Cerebellum. The cerebellum is located at the back of the brain, just below the cerebrum. The cerebellum coordinates voluntary movements such as balance, posture, speech, and muscle coordination of the body. Medulla. The lowest part of the brain is called the medulla or the brainstem. It forms a bridge between the brain and the spinal cord. It controls involuntary actions such as digestion, respiration, blood circulation, and heartbeats. The medulla never stops working, even when we are asleep or suddenly fall unconscious. Spinal cord. The spinal cord starts from the base of the medulla and goes down the middle of the back till the lower end of the backbone. It is a long, thick bundle made up of nerves, well protected by the bony vertebral column or backbone. The spinal cord helps the brain to exchange information between the brain and the rest of the body. This is done through nerves. The spinal cord also controls reflex actions, sudden actions not involving the brain. Example: impromptu removal of finger on coming in contact with a hot object. Nerves. Nerves are made up of tiny nerve cells or neurons. They carry messages from the different parts of our body to our brain and spinal cord. This is why they are also known as messengers of the body. There are 3 types of nerves in our body, with each type carrying out a specific function. Sensory nerves. They send information from the sense organs such as skin, eyes, nose, tongue, ears to the brain and the spinal cord. Motor nerves. They send information from the brain or spinal cord to muscles or parts of the body. Mixed nerves. Mixed nerves comprise both motor and sensory nerves and thus carry messages to and from the brain. Reflex actions. The body's control center, the brain, is responsible for almost all activities going on inside the body. Yet, there are some that are controlled by the spinal cord only without the help of the brain. These are called reflex actions. Reflex actions are automatic, immediate, and involuntary responses. If you unknowingly touch a hot vessel, the sensory nerves from the skin immediately carry the message of pain, that is burn, to the spinal cord. The spinal cord responds immediately, sending a message to the hand through the motor nerves to pull back the hand. The actions are very fast, taking not even a few seconds. Eyes. Eyes help us to see the world around us. Each eye is a ball-like organ that is protected by a bony socket of the skull. The eyelids and eyelashes protect the eyes from dust or any other foreign body entering the eyes. The iris is the central, colored, round part of the eye. The color of the iris may vary and can be black, brown, blue, or green. In the center of iris, there is a small dark part called the pupil. Behind the pupil lies the lens. The innermost layer of the eye is called retina. Light enters the eye through pupil and falls on the retina after passing through the lens. The sensory nerves in the retina, called optic nerves, transmit the images formed on the retina to the brain so that they can be interpreted. The brain then processes these signals and we come to know what we have seen. Our eyes are lubricated and disinfected by a continuous flow of moisture produced by the tear glands. Ears. Our ears help us hear different types of sounds. This is a very important sense organ and is divided into 3 sections. The outer visible part called pinna, middle ear and inner ear. Sound travels through air as sound waves. The shape of the pinna helps it to catch the sound waves. These waves travel through the external ear and into the middle ear through a membrane, the eardrum, causing it to vibrate. These vibrations are then passed on to the inner ear. The auditory nerve, which connects the inner ear to the brain, passes on the message to the brain, which in turn interprets it in the understandable form to us. Apart from detecting sounds, our ears help us to maintain a balance. Tongue. The tongue contains numerous taste buds which have small groups of taste receptor cells that react to chemicals in food. Taste buds react to sweet, sour, salty, and bitter tastes. Messages are sent from the taste buds to the areas in the brain responsible for interpreting taste. Nose. Though we look at the nose simply as a breathing organ, it helps us to differentiate between smells, fragrance, or stink. The inner part of our nose is lined with hair, which helps in trapping dirt and dust particles from the inhaled air. The nerve that connects it to the brain is called the olfactory nerve. There is a strong connection between the sense of smell and sense of taste. That is why when we smell something yummy, we are able to guess its taste. Skin. The skin, our body's largest organ, helps us feel the sensations of touch, cold, heat, pain, and pressure. The nerve endings in the skin carry the message of sensation to the brain, which in turn interprets the sensation.